Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending. It's great to see some clients here already. I recognize some of these names.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, really good to have clients, partners, sellers all here. Hopefully we can give some valuable information.
Yeah. Okay. And I think if we give this a start, just briefly about our webinar today. We'll be talking about successful imports into Europe and the UK, what to expect as a seller. Today I'm joined by Tommy Henbest.
Hi guys. Yeah, thanks for jumping on with us today. Yeah, as you can see, I'm Tommy Henbest. I'm one of the success managers here at Global E-commerce Experts. My role within the company, it's when either leads are passed to us or clients are passed to us, partners, I will introduce them to all the services that we offer, take them through the expansion process, the do's and the don'ts, and then, yeah, successfully expand sellers into European marketplaces.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tommy. I myself am Frederick Stanley. I am the first point of contact for the customs and trade inquiries that we get in at AVASK, and I help with the onboarding and give out any tips and tricks and best places to import, and then I'll be able to direct clients into the right direction of what to expect. Yeah, so today's subject, we'll be talking briefly about the changes of Brexit, customs declarations and what to expect within them, and just general requirements to consider for successful imports, where Tommy will be talking about product compliance, responsible person, and more. And we'll also be talking about EPR and the different services that both companies are able to offer together. If we start off with the Brexit changes that have been implemented, as many of you know, since the 1st of January 2021, there's been a customs border that has been introduced between the EU and UK. And what that entails is that you now have to complete a export declaration as well as an import declaration if you're trying to move inventory from one place to another. So for instance, from the UK to EU. And within those export declarations, you'll be able to see how much import duty, import VAT will have to be paid to the local tax authorities. The trade deal between UK and the EU and what that means. So within the trade deal, it has been discussed that products that are manufactured within the UK or the EU are now, the majority of are duty-free. So if you're moving them between each other, duty costs often wouldn't apply. Import VAT would still be something that would apply. However, it's something you can reclaim, as well as in some instances defer, depending on which countries you're looking to import. For imports from the EU into the UK, if they are over a certain value, as noted below, the 6,000 euros, you would have to have a further certificate of origin called, which is distinguished by the REX number, which is something you can get from your local Chamber of Commerce. That's just further proof that your products are indeed manufactured in the EU and that no duty would apply for your products. Some of the documents required for customs declarations, as you know, the commercial invoice, packing list, and country of origin certificates. The commercial invoice essentially just states what it is you're moving over, at what values you're operating with, who the importer and exporter is, and in many instances, who the indirect representative is as well. So some of the requirements you would have to consider when you're moving your goods over into the other country, in this case, either Europe or the UK. In many instances, if there is a sole owner of the products and you want to remain the owner of your products and you want to move those cross-border, you would face either direct or indirect representation. In most cases, responsible person as well, which Tommy will be elaborating on, product label compliance, and then finally EPR as well. If you are importing into Europe, and you are incorporated in the UK, you would face indirect representation, which is a requirement of indirect representation, which essentially allows someone to take on joint liability for your customs debt that incurs. This allows the customs authorities to hold someone accountable and essentially have someone to turn to should there be anything wrong with your shipments. This person needs to be within the customs jurisdiction. So if you're moving from UK into EU, this indirect representative in this case would have to have a legal entity within Europe. So for entities that are inside or located inside Europe, if there are any further requirements, you'd maybe look at appointing in a direct representative, which is widely available by most freight forwarders as well. Same applies for the UK. If you're EU incorporated but want to move goods into the UK, you would now have to appoint either a direct representative or an indirect representative, depending on what your needs are. This is especially true for both scenarios. If you're based outside the UK or the EU, but you're wanting to import into those places, you would need to appoint an indirect representative if you're incorporated outside those countries. In many instances, freight forwarders wouldn't actually offer indirect representation purely because of the amount of liability you as a person would then take on. This is where you'd include a third party to make sure that at the point of when your goods actually cross border, that the customs authorities have someone to turn to, and in most cases, this would be us working jointly together with GEE if there are further requirements for, in many situations, such as responsible person or product compliance. This is where we would turn to them and ask for their assistance on many things.
Yeah, so after obviously the goods are through customs, there are X amount of, I guess, due diligence that you need to make sure, or before really the goods pass through customs, that you need to be doing in order to make sure that the product, the labels, and your brand are going to be, I guess, compliant with the regulations where you're sending the goods. I'll give everyone a brief introduction to Global E-commerce Experts, and then we'll divulge more, I guess, into the responsible person service and product label compliance as well. So yeah, here at GE, we pride ourselves in being what's like a one-stop solution as such for any seller who's looking to expand into European marketplaces. So at the start of, I guess, a seller's journey into Europe, we would assist with everything compliance related. So making sure your products, your labels are in line with regulations, assisting with any translations, localizations of listings, as well as offering a responsible person address or under another alias under the address services. Moving on from that, around over a year ago now, we acquired our own in-house shipping company. So they will obviously help transport your goods all over the globe and clear them through customs. And then from there, we generally move the products to our fulfillment centres. That is one in Southampton, the UK, where I'm talking from right now. And we have another fulfillment centre in the Netherlands. From these fulfillment centres, we fulfill business, B2B, B2C. We drip feed a lot of stock into Amazon FBAs. We've got prime capabilities in both the UK and the Netherlands, and run a full return service in the UK and Europe as well. And last but not least, we have a account management department also here in the Southampton office. So they'll be able to assist with maybe the day-to-day runnings of your Amazon account if you don't have the time, or search engine optimization, keywords, PPC, all of that Amazon jazz, which I'm sure you're all very clued up on. So yeah, that's us in a brief nutshell. Next slide, please, Freddie.
Yeah, for React, there we are.
So the responsible person, all in all, what the responsible person service and the address basically means is that someone is basically liable for the goods in the region they're being sold, but there's traceability back to you, the original seller, as well. So who needs it? Well, everyone needs an address on their product. I think that the thing with the responsible person, there's lots of names. It can go under food body operators. It can go under an EU address, a responsible address. But if you are not if you're a seller and you don't have an economic operator in the region, so in Europe or in UK, you would need to have an address on the product and the region you're selling in. When I say region, what I mean by that is you need a UK and an EU address after Brexit. You used to be able to have just one European address, which would cover the whole continent. But now, if you're selling in EU, you need one EU address. And if you're selling in the UK, you need a UK address. We offer these services from our fulfillment centres. We've got the insurances in place to be able to offer our address for food products, cosmetic products. The only thing we really can't is medical products. And at the moment, we're in a registration to get our organic certificate in the Netherlands, but we do have our organic certificate in the UK for food products as well. So yeah, as mentioned, there's multiple alliances that it goes under: the FBO, address services, responsible person. But when it comes down to it, every seller that's not based in the region is going to need a localized address on the product. So when the end user receives it, they see that the product has done its due diligence, basically in reference to making sure the products are compliant with the regulations in the European market. So with food and supplements as a classic example, we can offer our address services for these. With the majority of products that we are offering our address for, we obviously have to do our due diligence if our address is being distributed around Europe with products. So what we like to do is complete a label compliance check before we offer our address, just so that we know your product is in line with regulations in Europe. So if there's any maybe changes that need to be made to the label, or if they maybe need to take certain claims off the label, we will let them know what they need to change to that label. And then after we know that it's compliant, we are able to offer our address, as we know this product, this label is going to be compliant with regulations. Same goes for CE markings. Every product that has a CE marking requires what's an actual responsible person address in that instance. If your product, or you're unsure if your product requires a CE marking or not, our label product compliance check will bring up if that is required. Just touching on foods and supplements as well, going back a slide. Food and supplements, when you're acting as a responsible person, there's no currently with food body operators, I guess, in the UK. But if you are selling in Spain, France, Italy, or Germany, there are what's called member state registrations in them countries if you are selling a food or a supplement product. So as an example, in Germany, there's I think it's called the VBL, or in France, it's called the Telecare. And these are all member state registrations. If you've got a food or a supplement product, you're going to need to register your product with them member states to make sure that they're compliant with the region, and so that they can be sold freely in the markets. We can apply for them with yourself through GE, but we would need to be acting as your responsible person in order to do so. Moving on to cosmetics. Yeah, cosmetics is another one, being a product that you're putting on your skin. These cosmetic products go for obviously lots of testing. There are, I guess, dangers around cosmetic products. What we can offer and be your responsible person for a cosmetic product, but we would need to complete what's called a PIF audit before. So then that's called a product information file. Included in that, it's like formula checks, a CPSR, so a product safety report, any label claims, and we'll need to see certificates like animal testing, COFA, SDS, all of that fun compliance stuff that we'll basically need to see before we can offer our address, because as again, we need to make sure that that product, that label is going to be compliant in the region before our address can be distributed around. And yeah, the address service, the responsible person, the FBO, it does all in all apply to everyone. If you're not selling in the region, first of all, you'll need something on your Amazon listings as a localized address, and then you'll need on your product as well. so that you don't get any nasty surprises at customs, at Amazon warehouses, where, as we all know, a seller's worst nightmare is really getting their stock withheld or stuck somewhere, because you can't make money on it. So the responsible person will help to avoid that. Next slide, please, Freddie. So moving on to the product and label compliance. Who needs it? I look at this and say, really, if you're a seller based outside of Europe, you haven't sold in Europe before, you've never really tested the market in terms of compliance, I would definitely recommend completing a label compliance, a product compliance check before you move into the market. I speak to clients on a regular basis, expanding all kinds of different products, including cosmetics, food supplements, electronical goods. And I'd say 98% of the time, the product itself is compliant with the regulations, but it's the labeling, it's the packaging, which isn't going to be compliant. There's certain things like, as mentioned earlier, label claims, maybe the weight of the product, whether it's the metrics it's in, whether it's in ounces, kilos, the markings that are on the products, the addresses. These are all things that sometimes in the States are going to be compliant and in Europe aren't. And that works for other regions as well, like Middle East, Australasia, Asia, etc., etc. So what does this achieve? Our process of the label product compliance check, we take all information from the product, from the label, and with that, we will then cross-reference it with every single EU regulator. Once that information has been cross-referenced, your product will then be categorized. So it will fall into a European food category, or you fall into a European cosmetic product category, or a health category. Once it's in that category, we then know as a company what extra legislations or extra markings are required on that product in order to make it compliant. So as I said, it could be CE markings, it could be certain weights on the product, it could be claims around products saying what the product does exactly. And once we've completed that check and all the information has been cross-referenced, the product's been categorized, we will then send you a report back. On this report, it will let you know exactly what you can have on that label and what you can't have on that label in order to make it compliant. You'll get a call with our compliance manager as well, where he'll sit down with you, take you through the report and let you know what you need to change that product in order to make it compliant. And that stands, as for the label and the product compliance as well.
Brilliant. I think one of the next talking points that we should cover then as well would be EPR, which is this extended producer responsibility. It's almost like an environmental tax, or it is an environmental tax, and has been introduced already in Germany and France, and it will probably be adopted within Europe. So it's within the best interest of sellers to sort of wrap their heads around this tax relatively soon. Purely because France, it's already live, and Germany, we're looking at July for one category, and then January next year for others. But that's something we'll talk about in one of the following slides as well. Essentially, what it covers is, or what it aims to do is to make a seller aware of the amount of waste you bring into in a country. So what they aim to do is to make a seller more responsible, and to make sure that they don't produce an over amount of, let's say, packaging, for an instance, just because it's these countries will have to battle with getting rid and recycling these packagings, and they just want to raise awareness of. So these taxes are by no means to deter sellers from actually selling in these countries. It's just to make them a little bit more aware. So who does it apply to? It's people who intend to manufacture goods in, let's say, Germany or France, as well as people who intend to import into these countries or sell. So as soon as you bring a product into the life cycle, so to speak, of these countries, EPR would apply to you. These are the categories that are currently live. In France, we are looking at packaging, electronic and electrical equipments, batteries, furniture, tires, paper, textiles, chemicals, and piercing medical equipment. And they're all live since January. And in Germany, we're looking at packaging and electrical and electronic equipment, and then batteries, I assume, will be implemented within January 2023 as well, purely because they don't seem to be. Yeah, it would make sense if they were launching them at the same time, but they have not officially stated the start date on that yet. Hence why it's not noted on this presentation as of yet. But as soon as we know, we'll keep you updated on that as well. Just as a quick overview as to what is provided with AVASK and GEE, we would be talking about different services. So for instance, if you're looking for incorporations, bookkeeping, VAT registrations, or anything like that, then that's certainly something we can assist with. And then GE having their 3PL services, product compliance, and marketplace launch. Is that something you offer as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at all the services that are here, I think we've just about got everything covered, haven't we, Freddie, between us, between the two companies. I'm confident that there's nothing else that a seller would need in regards to expanding that we don't cover between us.
Absolutely. I think there's a pretty much an A to Z coverage of services there. So if there is ever a need for any services, I'm certain that we're more than happy to reach out. And if you just let us know as to what exactly it is you need, we'll be able to refer you to the best person to give proper consultancy to, as GE are also consultancy driven, similarly to AVASK, and hence why the partnership I think is working quite well and soon to be flourishing further in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. As mentioned last slide, I think with AVASK's tax and EPR and customs trade, and then all GE filling in the other parts with the product compliance, the 3PL, actual physical shipping, and then if required account management as well, then yeah, we're confident as two companies that we will be able to expand any seller into Europe and expand them successfully as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think if you're happy, Tommy, if we tackle some Q&As that we've received from our clients. If we go about the Q&A section now, I will leave this slide up just so that if there are any direct questions you'd have to either one of us, always feel free to reach out. We've got a dedicated team that would be able to assist with your inquiries. But yeah, if we maybe tackle some questions that we received during the webinar now.
Yeah, I can see I've got some from Kelvin. So thanks for sending them across, Kelvin. Answered one of them, I think, probably as I was speaking. Do you provide UK authorised representation for food body operator services? Absolutely. Something we're doing on a daily basis. We've got the insurances, as mentioned earlier, in the UK and the EU to be a food body operator, as well as we can apply you for them external member state registrations as well to get your products compliant in specific regions. The only part that we're waiting on at the moment, Kelvin, is our European organic certificate to come through. It's in the process. We've got our UK one. I'm expecting that in around a month. But yeah, anything in terms of food body operating in Europe and UK, we've got that covered. For changes that are required after the label compliance review, can we overlabel the updated information on the existing products? That's a great question. Yes, you can. Lots of sellers do utilize that method to save on reprinting, because as I said, if you've just done a reprint run and then you expect it to expand to Europe, it's costly to reprint all these products. The only part of that I'd say, Kelvin, which you should be careful about, is there is some information probably on your label that you will be required to have. So as long as you've done a label product compliance check and you're not covering any information that needs to be on there, then yeah, absolutely. What lots of sellers are doing is covering up maybe uncompliant information with compliant information. And this is all kind of subjects that if you do take out a label compliance check with us, on that call afterwards and from the report, we'll let you exactly know how and what you can do in order to make that product compliant with the UK and the EU.
I also have a question in the chat here for you, Tommy, about translations. As there might be some label requirements for your products when you're importing in. Do DEE offer a translational service with that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't touch on that earlier. So yeah, another great question. Translations to kind of this, what I often say to my clients and partners, it works in a similar way to how VAT works. So any country where you're storing and fulfilling the goods from, you would be required to have a native translation on that product. So we offer full translation services here at GEE. I know often lots of sellers sometimes think I'll just use Google Translate or DeepL or something along them lines. Yep, you can do that, but I don't know if you've ever been on an Amazon page where maybe it's not English based, or German in your case as well, Freddie. Sometimes you can read the listing and you're reading the product, it doesn't make complete sense, and sometimes it doesn't give you confidence in the seller as such, if their listing is maybe in almost jargon and it's a bit jumbled in terms of the writing. So we always recommend localizing your listings, not only the packaging itself, but the listing as well, getting a translation. So on that product, it says in a clear native translation exactly what that product does. And in reference to the sole pieces that generally are required for the translation, its ingredients, directions of use, instructions, any health warnings are generally the main parts of the label that need translating. Obviously, the more you can translate, the better in terms of like seller confidence. But yeah, those are generally the main parts for the translation. And it's anywhere where you're holding and fulfilling goods, you need a translation. So as an example, as a pan-European customer, you would need every country that you're on the pan-EU program on. And there's ways and around of doing this as well. As an example, if you've got a food supplement company and it's in, as you know, sometimes the small bottles and capsules, it's very hard to fit 7 languages on there. So we'd always take you through your solutions. As an example, like a peel and reveal label, where you add one label to the product, you can open it up, peel it, and then it unfolds into further languages and labels. So there's definitely there's a way around getting them translations on every product.
Deal. Then we've got Kelvin asking about 3PL services. Do you offer delivery from Singapore to Amazon's warehouses in the UK? I assume it's meant with a 3PL solution in the UK and then drip feeding Amazon if the delivery is originally from Singapore. Would that be right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we wouldn't recommend shipping directly from Singapore into an Amazon warehouse due to the fact that that pallet, that item's probably not prepped correctly for Amazon UK. Our 3PL facilities in Southampton, so UK, second largest port in the UK itself. We take shipments using our shipping company PSP Gel from all corners of the world, so we could definitely get that shipped from Singapore, move it to GE's warehouse, and in that instance we would prep the stock. So check it in, make sure that what's arrived from Singapore has actually arrived. Check the stock in, drip feed the stock into Amazon FBAs, and then in that instance you're actually protecting your IPI score as such by keeping stock in the region. As many of these sellers know, there's a lot of uncontrollable variables when it comes to shipping. So if you've got stock in that region down the road from the FBA, you're making sure that IPI score is protected. And I think that's really essential, especially when a seller is starting up to sell in Europe. Because when you enter an FBA, obviously you get a bit of an algorithm boost. Often sellers will start really fast, and if you're keeping in stock in that time, you're keeping your IPI score, you're only benefiting yourself for your future sales. And also at the same time, if you send a bit more stock, you hold some in a 3PL in terms of backup stock, drip feeding stock, then you'll save in shipping in the long run, because you're paying less import. It's cheaper to ship a larger amount of stock than a small amount of stock as well. So.
Brilliant. We've got another question of a client who's looking to import an electronic battery operated product into the EU and or UK from China. They're debating whether or not they should provide standard AAA batteries in the product packaging. However, it seems there are a lot of additional costs and certificates associated with providing batteries. Could you go a little bit more details on what exact certifications the batteries will get? So I think from the point of import, if your company is incorporated outside the EU and UK, one of the first initial requirements would be indirect representation. And if it's a toy that you're importing, certainly responsible person would be something you have to get registered with as well. And then if you're looking to import into France or Germany, then it would be the packaging of your product, the electrical product in itself, so your product, and then also the batteries in itself. Those would need EPR registrations individually. And then I believe, Tommy, if you can touch about what maybe product compliance issues they could face from that product. I think we could give a bit more concrete answer on that.
Yeah, I mean, without seeing and reading from Zhao's comment there, thanks for the comments out and the question. It looks like you will definitely require like either CE marking or UKCA marking, which is in the process of opening up at the moment. Obviously, CE marking used to cover the whole of Europe. UKCA is live from January next year, but if you're printing products that are going to be in circulation from this point, you might as well start printing the UKCA marking as well. CA markings is a self-certification process, so there's X amount of due diligence that you have to do, and once you can kind of tick off that you've done them, you can add that CA marking into it. But with obviously the CE marking, you're going to be required to have a responsible person address as well. With electronical products, same as cosmetics, food body operators, we need to obviously make sure that that product is compliant. So sometimes we request like technical files on the electronics, depending on how intense the wiring is, etc., etc. But a label product compliance check will bring up what exactly you need to do in order to make that product that label compliant. But from looking at that comment, Zhao, you'll be required a CE/CR marking and a responsible person address on the product as well.
I think just a general rule of thumb for a seller looking to import into those countries, our main goal is to make it as easy as possible for the seller themselves. So if there is ever a requirement, we're more than happy to jump on a call together with the client to then discuss what would be the best way forward. We aim to produce any information in such a way that there's little for you to worry about, and that we really take the burden of everything else from you, so that you can maybe concentrate in different areas, because ideally you shouldn't spend most of your time trying to figure out what the requirements are, how it would apply for your product. If you reach out to either one of us, we'd be able to deliver some information for you so that you have it all in the ready. Yeah,
and that's the beauty of our services. We try to take the burden of the expansion. Lots of sellers see moving their stock into Europe. There's lots of red tape, lots of hurdles to jump over. It's not genuinely as much effort as a lot of sellers think. And we here at GE, a service that we offer as an example is an actual label redesign. So if you didn't feel confident actually making them changes to the label to make it compliant, our design team will liaise with our compliance manager and actually do the redesign for yourself. So to give you the peace of mind that that product is going to be compliant, that label is going to be compliant. And it's simple as us just sending it back to you and you getting it printed in that instance. And even if you needed us to do the printing, we could do that from our 3PL facility. So yeah, we tried to take as much as the stress, the burden of the expansion away from yourself.
Brilliant. I don't see any further questions. Maybe if we wait a couple of minutes, a minute or two, to see if there's anything that might pop up. Otherwise, if you can't think of anything just yet, feel free just to save the emails that are listed below and then reach out to us, and I'm sure we can tackle them then and there. Also, if you want any one-to-one calls, that's something we can certainly look to assist with, and then arrange with you at your preferred time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know well, Freddie, I love jumping on calls with clients, understanding a little bit about their business. I think it's generally the best way to move forward. Obviously, if you want to work over emails as well, that's absolutely fine. But I find in terms of like the discovery of the client and then the actual laying out the processes of the expansion, what it takes, the cost behind it, the time frames, there's nothing better than jumping on a call and going through that with people.
Definitely. I think one of the benefits I see from calls is always just building a personal relationship with that person as well, because you more understand where they're coming from, what it is exactly they're wanting to achieve, and then how far you can maybe assist. So that's, I think, is always a very valuable tool to utilize. And at AVASK, just general initial consultancy is always free. So if that's something you just wanting to get some tips and tricks, then yeah, certainly we can look to accommodate with that as well.
Yeah, and the same goes for us. At any time, even if you don't take a service or you decide not to expand, it's good to just have that information ready for down the line, or just so that you know. And yeah, it's going back to the trust, the call part. I think it's an essential part to build up trust with clients, with partners, due to the fact that it's their livelihood, it's their stock that they're sending all the way on the other side of the world. You need to make sure that you are in good hands when you're sending your product over there, because it's a long way, and you're not going to be coming over with it. So yeah, we love speaking to clients, liaising with them, and meeting up when the time's right.
Definitely. Well, I have not received any further questions. We have recorded this webinar, and I'm sure both of our marketing departments will issue these recordings to the participants that want a recording of it, or the slides. But yeah, if you don't have any further questions, I'm happy to end that webinar here and connect with any clients who wanted to reach out individually.
Yeah, that's yeah, I think we've got a good amount of information across, and I'm sure everyone knows in the panel on the recording that our inboxes are open, and we look forward to hearing from lots of you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time today, Tommy. I look forward to hearing from you more often, and hopefully seeing you as well. Always
a pleasure, Freddie. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other soon. And yeah, thanks for inviting me on. I've had a great time. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming, and hopefully we get to hear from you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending.